You see, camels are one of the only animals in the world that store all their fat in one spot. And that's useful for keeping cool in a hot climate because heat can escape faster from the rest of their body, which helps them maintain a lower body temperature. Compare that to other mammals like humans who store fat all over, making it a lot harder to stay cool. Today, camels still use the fat in their humps as a food reserve, but they're not the only ones. In extreme circumstances, the Turkana tribe in Kenya, for example, will eat camel fat to survive.
They suffer a lot from periods of extreme drought, and I have seen these people, they've been very, very short of food, and this is difficult to believe, but it's true, slit open the top of a camel's hump, take out the fat for their own consumption, and then put the top of the hump back on again.
But don't worry. The camel makes a full recovery and instances are rare. But this practice has started to generate some buzz around camel fat as a new superfood. Turns out camel fat is loaded with fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals.
Flipping a coin may not be the fairest way to settle disputes. About a decade ago, statistician Pierre Draconian started to wonder if the outcome of a coin flip really is just a matter of chance. He had Harvard University engineers build him a mechanical coin flipper. Draconian, now at Stanford University, found that if a coin is launched exactly the same way, it lands exactly the same way. The randomness in a coin toss, it appears, is introduced by sloppy humans. Each human-generated flip has a different height and speed, and is caught at a different angle, giving different outcomes. But using high-speed cameras and equations, Draconian and colleagues have now found that even though humans are largely unpredictable coin flippers, there's still a bias built in. If a coin starts out heads, it ends up heads when caught more often than it does tails. NPR's David Turkestan reports. According to the World Health Organization, 400 million people worldwide have no access to essential health care. That is a staggering number of people. Some of those services include things like basic sanitation and clean water, prenatal care and vaccinations or immunizations for children. Many things contribute to this crisis. Sometimes people live too remotely to get timely care if the emergency occurs. Even when living in a city, the patient-to-doctor ratio can be as high as 50,000 people to just one doctor, making it impossible for the doctor to meet the demands of healthcare in that area. These are valuable people made in the image of God who are physically suffering, many of them without a personal relationship with Christ. So we do this with a week of hands-on training consisting of a variety of topics like basic sanitation and hygiene, taking vital signs, wound care and infection prevention, basic birth assisting and emergency skills. Those who participate in the training then have practical skills and supplies to care for others in their community in a way that glorifies God and opens the door for sharing the gospel in a new way. Brought to you
#transcript. The point I'm trying to make is that when you're asleep, this thing doesn't shut down. In fact, some areas of the brain are actually more active during the sleep state than during the wake state. The other thing that's really important about sleep is that it doesn't arise from a single structure within the brain, but is to some extent a network property. If we flip the brain on its back, I love this little bit of spinal cord here. This bit here is the hypothalamus, and right under there is a whole raft of interesting structures, not least the biological clock. The biological clock tells us when it's good to be up, when it's good to be asleep, and what that structure does is interact with a whole raft of other areas within the hypothalamus, the lateral hypothalamus, the ventrolateral preoptic nuclei. All of those combine, and they send projections down to the brain stem here. The brain stem then projects forward and bathes the cortex, this wonderfully wrinkly bit over here, with neurotransmitters that keep us awake and essentially provide us with our consciousness. So sleep arises from a whole raft of different interactions within the brain, and essentially, sleep is turned on and off as a result of a range of interactions in here.